Hello, my dear friends. Imagine for a moment that shops are closed forever. Seed catalogs have turned to dust. Your survival depends not on how much money is in your bank account, but on what is growing beneath your fence. In the Middle Ages, there was no plan B. If the wheat crop was devastated by hail or consumed by locusts, famine ensued, and then they emerged. The vegetable soldiers, plants that were dozens of times hardier, more robust, and more nutritious than anything we coddled in greenhouses today. We call them weeds, yet our ancestors would have paid silver for a bunch of them. Today, on the $1 Million Weed channel, we're unearthing 10 immortal crops that once fed empires, and be sure to wait for the 9th plant. I guarantee you've considered it your sworn enemy your entire life, yet it might be the very thing that saves you when your stores run out in February. Plant number 1, goat's beard, or salad root. Before Peter the Great carved his window to Europe and brought us potatoes, and before sugar factories began extracting white poison from beets, goat's beard was the star of the table. This plant is a culinary perpetual motion machine. Why do I call it a $1 million weed? Because goat's beard is a perennial. Do you see the difference? Carrots or parsnips need to be sown every year. You fuss over seedlings, battle the carrot fly. Goat's beard, you plant once, and it feeds you for decades. In the Middle Ages, it was known as the root that paid rent. A farmer knew that even if drought scorched the rye and locusts devoured the cabbage, goat's beard, deep in the earth, would survive. It's unfazed by frost. Even if the ground freezes a meter deep, in spring, goat's beard awakens first, offering succulent greens and then sweet roots. Its taste is a true delicacy. Baked in embers, it becomes tender, almost creamy, with a buttery, nutty aftertaste. Old cookbooks advised frying it in oil or stewing it in pots, but its energy value is paramount. Goat's beard boasts an enormous amount of easily digestible sugars. It's pure fuel for the body during a harsh winter. In our time, when quality seeds become a luxury, having an immortal carrot in your garden isn't just a hobby. It's your food security. It simply grows while you go about your business, awaiting its moment. Plant number 2, lovage or mountain celery. You've likely seen this plant in your grandmother's flower beds. Now, it's considered merely a fragrant herb for pickling cucumbers. But in the Middle Ages, lovage was both an apothecary and a strategic reserve in a single bush. It was called mountain celery or love potion. But the magic here isn't sorcery, it's unique chemistry. This plant is a potent, natural antiseptic. In an era without antibiotics, where any scratch or gulp of dirty water could be fatal, lovage saved lives. Its roots were used to disinfect the stomach and treat inflammation. But look at it from the perspective of a survivalist chef. A single sprig of lovage is enough to imbue the emptiest soup, made from water, a few roots, and stale bread, with a rich, deep, meaty aroma. It's nature's #1 flavor enhancer. Why is it important today? Lovage is a guardian plant. It releases such potent essential oils that pests steer clear of your garden by a mile. It's utterly undemanding. It thrives in shade, on acidic soils, by the fence where everything else simply rots. It lives up to 20 years in one spot, accumulating enormous root mass each year. The root of lovage is a treasure trove of potassium and vitamins. In a world where pharmacies might close, this weed becomes your physician. It doesn't ask for fertilizer. It fears no weeds. It suppresses them with its own might. This is the true wisdom of nature. Plant number 3, Scorzonera, or blackroot. It was called serpent grass or black carrot. In medieval times, it was believed that Scorzonera was the sole antidote to viper venom and even the plague. But its greatest value for us lies in its near indestructibility. It's the perfect food for the harshest times. Scorzonera possesses a superpower. It doesn't need to be dug up in autumn. That's its uniqueness. If you lack a cellar or it's flooded, no worries. Leave the roots in the ground. A frost of -30 degrees. Scorzonera only benefits. It becomes even sweeter and softer. In spring, when potato stores begin to rot and sprout, and the first greens are still a month away, you simply grab a shovel, brush aside the remaining snow, and unearth fresh, juicy roots. Its taste resembles asparagus or even oysters when prepared correctly. But more importantly, it's a champion in inulin content. This natural prebiotic promotes a prolonged feeling of fullness and keeps the body toned. Monks in monastic gardens cultivated it as a sacred remedy for exhaustion. Today, we buy expensive supplements, while this black gold lies dormant beneath our feet. It requires no weeding once established and fears no diseases. It's your reserve fund for when everything else goes awry. Plant number 4, chickweed or starweed. And here we have our main protagonist, the one you strive to eradicate from the face of the earth every summer, chickweed, the bane of gardeners. You call it trash. Now, picture this. The Middle Ages, late February. Grain reserves are dwindling, cupboards are bare. Children's gums begin to bleed. Scurvy was a scourge more terrifying than war back then. And then, a mother goes out into the yard, brushes aside the snow in a sheltered spot by the house wall, and finds this. Chickweed is a winter miracle. It can grow and remain succulent at temperatures as low as 2 degrees Celsius. Its cells contain a unique natural antifreeze that prevents ice from damaging the plant. It was the only readily available source of live vitamins C, E, and magnesium during the leanest time of year. Its taste is like young, sweet corn or fresh green peas, tender, juicy, without a hint of bitterness. In medieval times, it was called heartgrass. It strengthens blood vessels, reduces inflammation and swelling. You can eat it raw when nothing has yet emerged in the garden beds, or add it to stews, giving them body and freshness. Chickweed is a symbol that nature never abandons us, even in the darkest times. It's not a weed. It's your free multivitamin complex that works when everything else is asleep. Stop fighting it. See it as a gift. Plant number 5, bunching onion or winter onion. It's called Immortal onion. It journeyed to us from the harsh Mongolian steppes with the very first caravans and has remained ever since. What's its secret? Common bulb onions are delicate. They can rot in the ground, fall prey to onion flies, and require careful storage. Bunching onion is a soldier, always on duty. In medieval times, a patch of bunching onion guaranteed protection against colds and infections. It withstands frosts down to -45 degrees Celsius without any cover, but its awakening is key. As soon as the sun gently touches the earth, bunching onion already offers succulent, pungent shoots. The concentration of its natural defenders, phytoncides, is so high that pests perish within a meter's radius. It propagates itself. You plant one small clump in a corner of your garden, and within a couple of years, you have a full plantation that requires no reseeding. It's an endless resource of vitamins and sharp flavor. In a world without a plan B, bunching onion is your insurance. A plant that asks for no fertilizer, fears no weeds, and offers all it has accumulated to the first spring sun. It is precisely these kinds of crops that made our ancestors indomitable. It's a true million-dollar weed, merely masquerading as ordinary onion. Plant number 6, Tansy or wild rowan. This plant isn't exactly a vegetable, but in the garden of someone thinking about tomorrow, it was valued at its weight in gold. Meet tansy. You see it along roadsides now and consider it just a bitter weed. But in the Middle Ages, tansy was the only available refrigerator. Consider this: heat of 30 degrees Celsius, no electricity, no ice. How do you preserve your catch? Tansy's essential oils are potent natural preservatives. Its leaves contain camphor and thujone, which literally paralyze decay-causing bacteria and repel flies. Our ancestors would layer fresh meat or fish catches with tansy, and the products would remain fresh for several days. It was a survival technology hidden in a simple plant. But that's not all. Tansy is the guardian of your garden. Plant it along the perimeter or between rows, and its sharp scent will disorient any pest, from onion flies to Colorado potato beetles. And a decoction of its flower heads is a time-tested remedy against parasites. It's bitter, harsh, but incredibly reliable. It grows on its own, fears no drought, and stands like a sentinel, guarding your home and your provisions. This is a plant for those who understand that security begins not with locks, but with what grows at your doorstep. Plant number 7, Alexander's or horse parsley. It's called Alexander's or black parsley. This plant arrived with the Roman legions. Why did they carry its seeds in their campaign bags across Europe? Because Alexander's is a self-growing campaign ration. In the Middle Ages, it was known as the lazy person's vegetable. Everything about it is edible, from the crown to the root tip. But its main value for the gardener is that it loves shade. Each of you has neglected areas behind sheds, under dense trees, where nothing grows but moss. Alexander's will transform these barren spots into a garden. Its stems taste like celery, but with a subtle myrrh aroma. Alexander's seeds in the Middle Ages substituted for black pepper. It was the only accessible pungent spice for those who couldn't afford overseas seasonings. Its roots, in terms of calories, are no less valuable than parsnips. This plant symbolizes versatility. It doesn't require sunny beds. It's not afraid of dampness. It simply thrives where others give up. Plant it once in the most inconvenient corner of your plot, and you'll have an eternal source of greens and calories that requires no attention. Plant number 8, Turnip Greens, or mustard tops. We're accustomed to being consumers of roots. We grow turnips or beets, compost the greens, and put the roots in the pot. But in times when people lived in harmony with nature, they knew that true strength lay in the leaves. Turnip greens aren't waste. They're a concentrate of life. These green leaves contain 4 times more calcium and 5 times more vitamins A and C than the root itself. In the Middle Ages, they were used to make, quote, a staple diet that gave people strong bones and endurance. Turnip leaves have a pleasant bitterness, akin to premium Italian broccolini, for which people pay exorbitant sums in restaurants today. Why is this important for the __quote_2___ channel? Because turnips grow incredibly fast. You can harvest 2, even 3 crops of greens per season. It's the quickest way to obtain fresh food when reserves are low. We're used to discarding what our ancestors fermented in barrels, storing health for the entire winter. Reconsider your attitude towards greens. In a survival scenario, there's no room for waste. Every leaf is a chance to be stronger tomorrow. Plant number 9. Burdock, or breadroot. Well, have you waited? Here's your sworn enemy, with whom you battle sweat and toil, pulling it out by the roots and cursing the burrs on your clothes. Burdock, the great burr plant. You think it's just a roadside weed? In medieval Russes, it was strategic bread. Why did I say it would save you in February? Look at this root. It contains so much energy and inulin that it can replace both potatoes and wheat. In Japan and Korea, burdock is a delicacy for which people pay dearly, yet it grows on every derelict lot for us. In the Middle Ages, when granaries were empty, the roots of first-year burdock were dug up, dried, ground, and added to flour. Such bread not only provided satiety, but also healed joints, cleansed the blood, and gave the strength to toil from dawn till dusk. If simply baked in ashes, its taste resembles a slightly sweet Jerusalem artichoke or a very hearty asparagus. Its root delves 1.5 meters into the earth, extracting minerals from depths no cultivated vegetable can reach. When everything else freezes or rots from the rain, burdock will stand unyielding. It's your emergency reserve, your insurance that requires no seeds, no watering, no care. It's $1 million weed simply waiting for you to become truly hungry. Plant number 10. Good King Henry, or Wild Orach. Meet Good King Henry. It sounds like a title from knightly romances, but in reality, it's the closest relative to our common orach, lamb's quarters. In England, Germany, and Scandinavia, it was cultivated for hundreds of years as perpetual spinach. Y__quote_3__. Legend has it that the people nicknamed it in honor of a monarch who, during a great famine, allowed the poor to gather these plants from the royal forests. In those harsh times, common spinach was considered a capricious delicacy that perished from the first frost or drought. But Henry, good Henry, was a true garden soldier. This plant is a unique, versatile survivor. Everything about it is edible, and it feeds you from early spring to late autumn. As soon as the earth thaws, thick, succulent, cone-shaped shoots emerge. If cut before they unfurl and boiled, you get a dish that in the Middle Ages replaced expensive asparagus. Henry's leaves are arguably the most nutritious spinach on the planet. They contain several times more iron, protein, and vitamins than what is sold in supermarkets in plastic packaging. Moreover, Henry's leaves retain their flavor even after heat treatment, remaining dense and satisfying. But the greatest secret is hidden in its seeds. Look at these panicles. They are our native northern quinoa. In the Middle Ages, when grain harvests perished from rain or disease, wild orach seeds were ground into flour and added to dough. Wild orach, as our ancestors called this plant, due to the silvery, misty bloom on its leaves, resembling morning haze. But behind this modest name lies true power. Its seeds are forest bread. If gathered and ground, you get flour that provides satiety comparable to meat. Why do I call it $1 million weed? Because it thrives on neglected land. It doesn't need fertile soil. An old dung heap, compost, or a shaded damp corner near a shed where everything else would rot is enough for it. It self-seeds, but it's a noble guest. It's not aggressive. It doesn't choke out other crops. It simply occupies its place. Today, in fashionable European restaurants, it's served under the name wild spinach for exorbitant sums. Yet it simply awaits in your backyard for you to finally realize that your free pantry of protein, iron, and vital energy is already open. This is a plant that fed nations when Plan B ceased to exist, and it's ready to do so again. Friends, today we've traveled a long road from monastic backyards to yours. These 10 plants have survived plagues, wars, and our own haughty oblivion. They don't ask for fertilizer. They don't need greenhouses. They only ask one thing: that you remember who they are. Nature never leaves us empty-handed. It always gives us a chance, even when we have no plan B. Look at your garden with new eyes, not as a battlefield against weeds, but as a treasure trove left to you by your ancestors. Tomorrow, walk through your plot. Find at least one of these plants. Preserve it, taste it, and you'll feel that ancient strength awakening within you. Write in the comments which of these plants grows on your land. Perhaps you've already tried burdock soup or chickweed salad. Let's share our experiences. Give a like if you want wisdom to endure. Subscribe to _quote_5__. We're just beginning to remember the truth. See you in the garden beds.